What's up? So I'm back again working on the truck. Right now I'm working on the engine harness. I've been working on it on and off for probably about a month now, just kind of when I have some spare time. And so I have clips of me working on it, but I've kind of changed what I was doing completely from my initial thoughts what I was going to do, because I decided on running a different intake, and then that led to where the harness runs over top of the factory intake. Well, this is a Holly intake that I'm running, so I didn't want it laying over it, so I ended up changing up a lot of things to try to clean it up and actually make it look better. So some of the clips at first might seem a little off, because that was from almost a month ago when I first started, and things have just kind of changed. But overall, I mean, it's still just the same basic things pretty much. But really, what I've done, since the harness was supposed to just normally run over top, and I didn't like that, what I ended up doing is I pretty much moved it where the computer would be to the back by the firewall. And then the whole harness itself, for the most part, is going to run just down along the firewall. It won't run across the front of the block or over top of the motor. It'll run down the back, and then it will shoot out to the places where it needs to be. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'll show you kind of what I'm doing and where I'm at. But really what I'm just trying to do is get it all cleaned up and put everything in place where it needs to be, and then hopefully get it all loomed up so I can get the motor back in the truck. But at first I was trying to get it all torn down to just kind of reloom it, which is obviously the same process I'm doing anyways, but I just changed things up quite drastically over the past month. So with this motor, there's not a whole lot of things that I'm changing. Really, one of the main ones would be like the alternator. It's really just kind of went from up here to down here. And it's not like it wouldn't just plug in, but I want to try to make the harness fit as tight as I can. So I want to do it for that. And then I don't know what intake I'm going to do exactly, but either way, I want it to run under the intake instead of the factory intake where it comes over and sits on top, because I'm going to run an aftermarket intake more than likely, so I want it to be able to run straight through and kind of be more hidden. And really the only other things where I'm relocating the battery, so I won't have the little post right here, and then the battery obviously won't be up here, so I'll have to reroute all that. So I want to change all my hot wires from the battery side over, and that's really about it. There's not too many things that I'm changing. Really, for the most part, I just kind of wanted to get it all cleaned up and just reloom it and make it with a nicer loom. Okay, so really last time I left off, I had it was just kind of flowing with just the original look. And one of the things I didn't like, where I moved the alternator over, I wasn't a fan of how that was going to run through there and then still be able to run up under the intake. So that was where this whole debacle started. So I was trying to figure out what to do about that. And then I kind of decided what I would rather do is just put it all in the back. So then once it's in the truck, you really won't see anything. So I got this bracket here and then this bracket here, which I'll have to clean up. They're just rough brackets to hold it in place. And this side still runs like it normally would. You got your plug up there for your throttle body, and then your injector plugs and your coil pack. And then back here you still have your normal, you got your cam sensor, your oil pressure sensor. But what I've changed is back here. So what's gonna happen now, where it's gonna run out the back, the fuse box is gonna stay in the same place, but I want to move the computer back up against the firewall and put it in between like the fuse box firewall area. And so that's just gonna run around the back, and this should, hopefully, if it all goes right, will run along the firewall. Obviously the transmission wires will still run same exact way, they're in the same spot. And then the plugs that would normally run down the front and around the motor, I have them coming out the back, and they're gonna run down the side, kind of like it would from the factory for all of like your AC stuff and your O2 and your MAF sensor. So it will run with them now. So the whole kind of goal of this, I guess, is just when you pop the hood, you shouldn't really see any wires. You'll still, obviously, you'll see your throttle body plug, and you'll have to obviously see your alternator plug. And then you can't really do anything too much about hiding the injectors. But that should hopefully be all you see. Everything else should just run along the firewall, and it should be tucked away and hidden and just look a little bit cleaner. One of the things I'm gonna have to do, it was a lot easier, honestly, than I thought. Not much needed shortened or extended, but obviously I'm gonna have to extend all the injector plugs. I'm gonna have to extend the coil packs, the knock sensors. I'm gonna have to move them potentially. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not gonna do the knock sensors up top. I wanna do them like in the Gen 4 locations. So depending on that, I might not even have to extend the plug. I might just be able to just, when I make a harness to run that, just build it there. The only other plug it looks like I have to extend, or no, actually that, I get rid of that one. That's for the evap sensor, and I'm ditching that. Oh, I gotta extend the alternator plug. But really, it's not too much. I mean, what, maybe 20 wires? So it won't be that big of a deal. And if it all goes right, it should just have a lot cleaner look. And hopefully it should just be one harness running up against the firewall instead of having it run all around across the motor. Okay, so I'm gonna try to kind of show what I do when I'm trying to solder these. By no means am I like a professional at soldering, but I can at least get the job done. So these clamps really help a lot because obviously it just holds it exactly where it needs to be, because you really need 3 hands if not. But all you really want to do is you're trying to get the wires hot. You don't want to melt the solder off of it, where it'll melt on top of it and it won't really burn through. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll kind of touch it to it a little bit, try to get it warmed up a little. But what you want to be able to do is get it to the point where you can run the solder up into the wire from the bottom, like that, where it starts melting on its own. And I just kind of work it around and it will push through, and then you get a really good solder joint. So this is where I'm at now. First of all, I did have to change out my water pump. I was running just a factory style truck water pump, and what it was doing, it was coming up and I didn't have any clearance room with my Pro Charger bracket. So I went with a Holley water pump. It seems like it's more like a LS7 style water pump where it comes out on the driver's side, but it's still got truck spacing. So I didn't have to run any spacers or anything. Honestly, it's not a bad piece at all. I really like it, and it did exactly what I needed it to. The only thing is where my Pro Charger bracket mounts, I did have to shave down the mounts a little bit because I didn't have enough clearance. But really, overall, it did exactly what I needed to, and was way better than it shooting up into the bracket where it was unusable. So really though, the wiring is a complete mess. I've got it kind of ran roughly where it all needs to be. I've extended the wires, and it's all kind of fitted up. I do have to run, this is my MAF sensor, and I got it running up here because I'll put my throttle body obviously on the intake, and I'll probably run, I don't know if I'm going to run MAF or just AIT, but that will go right in here. So I wanted to run it up through the front instead of around on the side. So I do have to shorten this and get it in place. But my intake right now, I don't have it. I sent it off to get powder coated, so I still got to pick that up. But when I get the intake back, I can get all the injectors and everything fitted up where they need to be and get them permanently set up so I can get them loomed. Alright, so my intake's done in powder. I'm gonna go pick it up, and then hopefully everything's good there and I can get it on and get all the wiring finished up. So we'll go check that out now. Alright, so my intake's back from powder. I got it all put together. So really now I just got to get the injectors all wired up and get all that stuff routed, and then hopefully I can throw it in the truck and get all that finished up so that I can be done with the harness and start putting it together. The injectors I still got to change over. I'm running a EV6 injector. It's this plug right here. I can get it to focus. So I got these just adapter harnesses, but obviously I don't want to just plug them in. So I'm going to chop them off, and I'll chop these off, and then I'll wire them in. So, you know, it'll look cleaner and you won't have big bulky plugs sticking out. These are the injectors I'm running. They're a Deechworks 95 pound injector. They should be good. I don't think they'll be too much of an injector, hopefully. But we'll find out. Hopefully if it's too much, there's still enough there where they can be kind of turned down, but hopefully I don't have to change injectors again. Alright, so that's going to probably wrap it up there. I got a little bit to run down on both sides that I got to wait till it's in the truck, and then just a little bit left on the wires going to the transmission. But besides that, it's pretty much all done. So next is going to be putting it in the truck, and then I can get all that finished up and finish up all the little piddly things, and then hopefully it's ready to go. So we'll see you in the next one.